I, 30, male, married my wife Amanda, 27, female, a few years back. Amanda's sister Pamela, 30, female, and I have never gotten along despite us being in the same age group. It's not that we had a fight or anything, but I never grew a fondness towards her. She was always moody, rude, and demanding. After marriage, when Amanda and I moved in together, Pamela would show up at our house uninvited to eat our food and borrow our money. While there, she would constantly complain about everything wrong with the world and how she was perfect. At times, she would even criticize our marriage. Amanda and I were homebodies as we didn't like to go out much. Pamela, who was a party animal herself, would tell us that we were boring and unhappy. In short, she was the complete opposite of my wife, who was kind, generous, and loving. But when Pamela showed up at our door one night crying about her husband cheating on her, I felt sorry for her. She looked a mess, with her clothes torn and her makeup smeared. She said that her husband kicked her out, so she had to walk for miles in the rain as she had nowhere else to go. Pamela got married a few months back after being in on and off relationships with a few men. We didn't know her husband much apart from meeting him once during the wedding. So we believed Pamela's side of the story. My wife, who was very close to her sister despite their differences, hugged her and invited her in. She said that we would let her stay with us until she found a new place. Though I was reluctant, I agreed because I felt sorry for her. At first, things were fine. She kept to herself, mostly staying in the guest room or going out with her friends. She thanked us for our hospitality and said she was looking for a job and an apartment. She also apologized for being a bad sister and said she wanted to change. She seemed sincere, and I thought maybe she had learned her lesson. But after a few weeks, I noticed that she started to act differently, especially when my wife was absent. She would wear skimpy outfits around the house, flirt with me when my wife wasn't looking, and make snide remarks about our marriage. As if making me uncomfortable wasn't enough, she would leave dirty dishes in the sink and use up all the hot water. There were nights when my wife had to walk to Pamela's room to ask her to turn off the loud music that she would blast for hours. She also seemed to be spending a lot of time on her phone, texting and calling people. One day, 3 weeks after Pamela started staying with us, when I came home from work, I found my wife in tears on the couch. Pamela was not around, so we had enough privacy to talk. I asked Amanda what was wrong, but she seemed to be angry with me. She asked me to leave her alone. Respecting her request, I decided to go take a shower and made us both dinner and approached her again. I assumed that by that time she would have cooled down. Though she had stopped crying, she still appeared very angry. When I asked her again what her issue was, she stared at my face in anger for a minute and then straight up accused me of cheating on her. She said that she had seen a few flirty texts on my phone from a contact named Lisa. I had nobody on my phone saved as Lisa, but Amanda didn't care to believe it. She also said that Pamela had told her that she had seen a woman in my car multiple times. I was shocked and angry because I knew that this was the work of my sister-in-law. She has manipulated my wife into thinking that I cheated on her. My wife never had the habit of checking my phone, so I asked her when she took my phone. She was angry, but she told me that she had seen the text messages in the morning. Late night the day before, Pamela had told her about seeing a woman in my car multiple times. I usually wake up late in the morning, so she might have checked my phone before I woke up, though I still didn't have a clear picture of how my sister-in-law did it. I knew that she might have texted me from a fake number and then deleted the text when I woke up. She was trying to sabotage our marriage and make me look like the bad guy. I had just one plan to save my marriage. I knew that my sister-in-law was a narcissist, so I decided to act in favor of her ego. When she got home, Amanda was out as she decided to stay away from home for the evening. I turned the voice recorder on my phone and started talking friendly to Pamela. I told her how fragile marriages these days are and how thankful I was to her for making me realize that. I was talking about the test she had put my marriage through. Pamela looked proud and talked to me, confirming that she had manipulated my wife into believing her lies. She was even proud of it. When I asked her what inspired her to do this, she smirked and said that she was bored and wanted some fun. She admitted that she had lost faith in marriages and wanted to teach us how fragile even our seemingly perfect marriage could be. I was disgusted by her confession, but I didn't show it outside. I asked her whether she could admit all this to my wife to fix our marriage, but she was not ready to do that, as that might make her look bad in the eyes of her sister. So I took the recording and sent it to my wife. My wife turned up at our house after a few minutes. By this time, I had barged into Pamela's room and packed all her belongings. I called her a taxi and immediately asked her to leave. My wife appeared a bit confused by everything, but she didn't stop me from kicking her sister out. Pamela had no choice but to leave. After she left, I retired to my room because all the events had taken such a great emotional toll on me. At night, I came out of my room and saw that Amanda was still looking a bit disturbed. I assumed that it might be because of how easily her sister manipulated her, so I decided to cheer her up, even though I was not in the best mood. I tried talking to her, and the only thing she could talk about was her sister. She was worried about where her sister could be, as she had nowhere else to go that night. I consoled her, saying that Pamela had multiple friends in the place where we lived, and she could crash anywhere. My wife had no intention of apologizing for what she had done to me. At one point, she even tried to justify Pamela by saying that she might have done all this due to the trauma of being cheated on by her husband. I lost it at that point and told my wife that she was neglecting my emotional well-being by supporting someone who tried to sabotage our marriage. But Amanda kept defending her sister for the trauma she had to go through. That was the night I decided not to talk to Amanda until she got away from the spell of her sister. We thought we had seen the last of my sister-in-law, but we were wrong. A few days after she moved out, her husband contacted us. He said that he wanted to talk to us about something about my sister-in-law. We agreed to meet him at a nearby cafe. He looked tired and sad, but also relieved. He greeted us warmly and thanked us for coming. He said that his wife had contacted him and he was sorry for all the trouble Pamela had caused us. At this point, Amanda and I were still of the belief that Pamela's husband cheated on her. Amanda was even reluctant to meet the person who caused her sister such a distress, but Pamela's husband had a different story to tell. He said that he had loved her very much, but she had betrayed him in the worst way possible. He said that she had lied about him cheating on her. In reality, she was the one who cheated on him. She had been having an affair with his best friend for months. He found out when he saw some messages on her phone from him. He confronted her, but she admitted to nothing. But when he asked his best friend, he admitted that they were having an affair. Upon hearing this, he was devastated and angry, so he asked her to get out of his house and never come back. He also told his best friend that he never wanted to see him again. So I was sitting in front of a man whose whole life had fallen apart. He said that he didn't know where she went after that. He assumed that she had gone to his best friend's house and lived with him now. But the day we kicked her out, she went to him and cried at his door to take her back. She lied to him about me cheating on Amanda and how Amanda had given me one more chance. He understood that this was a lie because he knew how manipulative she was. He didn't let her in that night. He said that he was sorry for not contacting us sooner, but he was too ashamed and hurt to face us. I told her husband that I was sorry for what she had done to him, but Amanda was silent during the entire meeting. It was very uncomfortable to sit through due to her silence. He thanked us for our kindness and support and left. On the way back to our car, Amanda told me that she felt like Pamela's husband was lying. I was angry that she still had a soft corner for Pamela, so immediately after dropping Amanda at our house, I packed my bags and moved to a nearby hotel to stay for the night. In a text that I left her, I told her that she was ruining our marriage, but my wife claims that I was overreacting and I should have stayed for a conversation. Am I the a-hole for leaving my wife alone at our house since she couldn't stop defending her sister who tried to sabotage our marriage? Update 1. A day has passed and I have only been getting angry texts from my wife, so I've decided to stay in the hotel for one more night. Update 2. After one more day, my wife cooled down, so I drove to our house to give her a surprise. But to worsen things, I saw Pamela there. I asked her to leave immediately, but Amanda kept asking me to forgive Pamela as she had no other place to go. I do nothing but drive back to the hotel to think about the future of our marriage. Update 3. I went back to the hotel and sent a text to my wife telling her that she would have to set proper boundaries with her sister or else we'll have to reconsider our marriage. She replied that she was out with Pamela and would respond later. That was enough for me, so I contacted my lawyer and started the proceedings for divorce. ESH. Your wife has no boundaries with her sister, which is clearly the reason for the way she acts. I have no comments on how vile your sister-in-law is, but you should have acted right in this situation by communicating well with your wife about the issues. Storming out of the house is not the solution. NTA, you should prioritize yourself when it comes to interacting with toxic people. The day your wife learns this lesson, she will realize how her sister manipulated her. Next story. Back 4 months ago, both my husband and I landed the same job, making fantastic pay. This job pays $28 an hour, so this was huge for us. The problem is that it's overnight shifts, so we needed a sitter for the kids. We asked mother-in-law to do so. She said yes, and we told her to pick what she felt was a fair amount for payment. She said $300 on the third day weeks and $400 on the fourth day weeks. 12-hour shifts. I will admit I was a bit thrown off with that price, only because she didn't get here until after the kids, all over 12, were already sleeping and left before they woke up, so all she did was use our hot water, eat all our food, and sleep. I didn't say anything because it's really long hours and we needed someone. It turned to shit quick. Every workday, we get out at 5:30 and have an hour drive home. She is blowing up our phones by 5:50 to 6 a.m., asking where we are and telling us to hurry up. We get home to filth, created by her because my kids are sleeping the whole time. Like garbage beside the chair, sofa where she sleeps, dirty dishes everywhere, dog shit. Apparently, she wasn't bringing the dog out. And found she's been letting the dog sleep on our bed. Absolute big no-no. As well as feeding our dog table scraps. I only know this because she all of a sudden begs constantly when she didn't before. Between me trying to manage this new sleeping schedule and me having to undo everything she did while here, I decided I couldn't do it. This was following her calling us out of work twice because her back hurt and she wanted to go home. So I spoke to my husband and told him I wasn't paying her to watch our kids anymore because she's creating more problems than she's worth and that he needed to let her go. He agreed, but he didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I told him I could do it. He decided it would be better if we both did, so we called her on speaker and told her this wasn't working out. When she asked why, we were pretty blunt in our reasoning. She trashes the house. She eats everything in sight, even stuff we said don't touch. She doesn't follow our rules about the dog, and she cost us almost $1,300 for having us leave work within an hour of being there because of her back. She starts yelling and saying she quit her job to do this. We had no idea she quit or why, considering she didn't work the days we did, and that we were heartless because this was her only income now. My husband was visibly uncomfortable, but we stood our ground. He's feeling some type of way because now he's questioning whether or not she was causing that many issues. He isn't seeing it the way I do, however, because he's not the one who deals with all the problems. I am. I do the grocery shopping and have had to go several times more than I usually do after not sleeping. I'm the one who cleans he does other chores. AITA? He feels terrible. I do not. Edit. Minimum wage where I am is $7.25 an hour. For those very few individuals who think that what I was paying her wasn't enough, it's above minimum wage. NTA, and I understand why he does, but he needs to get over it. You were paying her good money, and she wasn't listening to the boss. If this was anywhere else, would she act the same? She gave two shits about respect of the house and to you both. If this was her primary income now, she should have understood the ramifications for not abiding by your terms. She's TA, and she's old enough to understand all that. When you agree to take care of the kids, you also agree to take care of the household. It is unfair to you that you work those hours and have to come home to dirty house caused by your mother-in-law. If this was any other job, your mother-in-law would have been fired too. There is no way any employer is going to be fine with an employee who trashes the workplace regardless of if they get their job done or not. NTA. Next story. I, female 22, am currently furious at my parents. I've always felt a bit like the second choice in my family. Whenever I had something I thought to be important, my parents seldom showed up to witness that. For example, an important sports game. My sister needed a ride to her friend's house. I got broken up with. They were already busy consoling my little brother because he lost a game of Uno. A few years ago, I joined an art program to widen my horizons. For the final project, the teacher managed to book a small part of a museum to showcase our work, and the opening is this evening. I made a huge painting I spent nearly 150 hours on, so I hope you understand that this exposition is really important to me. Since 2 weeks ago, I had been telling family and friends about this, and everyone I asked said that they would love to come. I did not exclude my parents and told them every 2 days or so to not plan anything for this evening. This morning, I found out they planned a dinner date with some of their friends at exactly the time that the museum opens. I flipped out. My emotions took over. I called my parents some really nasty names and overall just was yelling really loudly at them. I told them that they could frick off to their stupid dinner and that they are cowards for only telling me about their plans the day of the exhibition since they can't cancel on the restaurant. After I calmed down, they told me how much of a spoiled a-hole I am for yelling at them for such a small mistake and told me they now want to come even less. Am I the a-hole for flipping out and yelling at my parents? I agree that it would have been better had I stayed calm, but my friends tell me my reaction was justified. NTA, you flipped out very understandably, and your parents sound pretty damaging if their response was to say, now they want to come even less. They were completely in the wrong, but it doesn't sound like they're open to changing or understanding how you feel. But I hope you don't internalize that. It's not because of you, it's their problem and their loss. I'm really sorry, OP, because that's an awful feeling. My mom started having no interest in me when I became a teenager, then on and off in adult life. I've ended up going no contact. It's hard to even type this because my response is coming off so cut and dry, and I know it's really a very heavy feeling. I'm just a DM away if you ever want to vent. And also, please update this post with a picture of your artwork. I'd love to see it and would come to the opening if I could. NTA, maybe you could have managed the problem without flipping out, but your emotions are very well justified. You also let your parents know about your feelings, albeit in the wrong way by flipping out and yelling, but I personally suggest you talk to them again in a calm atmosphere and sort out any misunderstandings. But this is a very real problem that many siblings face. Parents always forget a basic rule of parenting, and that is treating their children equally. Even if our democracy preaches equality, it's also the same for us children, too. I personally won't say that I love one parent more than the other, either through words or actions. The same I also expect from my parents. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.